Hey pillars, welcome back to another video. It's another bike comparison that was requested. Henry Jin asks, hi Pillar, I have another question for you. Should I get the same money 2021 TCR Advanced 1 disc or the 2020 Trek Emonda SL disc? Thanks, and that's what we're going to jump into right now, but I'm going to make a slight adjustment to the comparison. Henry wanted us to compare that TCR to a 2020 Trek Emonda SL6 disc that we have right now on screen. But it's pretty interesting because if we compare the new price of the EMONDA SL6 for 2021 with all the added benefits of the redesign, it's going for $3,300 USD, which is $100 cheaper than the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact. So for that reason, I'm going to be comparing the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact 2021 for $3,400 USD to the Trek Emonda SL6 2021 for $3,300 USD. And I think that'd be a lot better comparison for this video. Now to show Henry what they basically changed from the 2020 Trek Emonda to the 2021 Trek Emonda, you can see on the 2021, it had a lot of the old flares that the EMONDA was known for in terms of being the best climbing bike that you could really buy. And now if you look at the new Trek Emonda, it has all the benefits from the old one, but I would say some flares of aerodynamics as well. So now it's all around race bike. You can see a lot of the integration, cable integration is going right through the head tube near the stem. So it's a lot cleaner looking. I just think it looks a lot nicer than the old Trek Emonda. I think this is very dated. Now the first bike that Henry wanted us to take a look at is the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact, retailing for $3,400 USD. From the looks of it, carbon fiber frame, fork. I'm assuming the seat post is carbon fiber as well. Taking a look at the crank, it's a cheaper crank. It's not an Ultegra crank. And the brake rotors are actually cheaper than the usual Ultegra rotors that come stock on Ultegra graded bikes. But actually taking a look at the specs now, we're going to go down. Carbon fiber frame and fork, handlebar, stem, all aluminum. I'm assuming the seat post is carbon fiber. And then in terms of the shifters, front derailleur, rear derailleur, the whole group set is basically Shimano Ultegra. I wish Giant would actually put which level of Ultegra. Now I know it's a new bike, 2021, so you would assume it's the newest form of Ultegra, but I always like to see them just put R8000. The brakes are hydraulic, so this is an 11-speed Shimano Ultegra group set mechanical. So it is hydraulic. Cassette at the rear is a Shimano 105 1130, so they end up putting a cheaper rear cassette at the back. I don't think that's a big deal. 1130 usually is just going to be a little bit heavier and maybe not as crisp in terms of shifting or maybe long lasting, but I doubt that. Now in terms of the crankset, you have a 5236 semi-compact RS510 cheaper Shimano crank, which I don't like. Now that's not to say that it would be night and day with the Shimano Ultegra crank. Just usually when they put these cheaper cranks, they usually tend to wear out faster. And I would say that the power transfer is not as good. Now, I'm not an engineer that's going to do a test between both cranks. I usually just like to have an Ultegra crank if the rest of the group set is Ultegra, or at least a 105 crank. I'm pretty sure this is still even cheaper than a 105 crank, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. Now, in terms of the rims, you have Giant's SLR2 42mm carbon fiber rims, which if we look right here, this is what they look like. Now, I'm going to say this every time someone requests a Giant comparison video that has a Giant bike. I had the worst warranty experience with any bike company ever in all my years of riding with Giant when I actually had to get a warranty done on one of my wheels for a TCR that was a lower grade, basically a stock rim, aluminum rim. They wouldn't even warranty it, even though they told me it was under warranty when two spokes actually broke with little to riding at the beginning of the season. So I just like to, give you guys awareness that I had probably the absolute worst. They basically strung me along for 5 months and never actually solved my problem. Now, when anyone asks for me to make a comparison that has a Giant bike, this is not because I'm trying to throw shade at Giant. It's just basically telling you guys my experience. I had a very poor experience with Giant, which would deter me from buying a Giant bike, but I still make these videos because if you are in the market, I'm not saying that the bike doesn't perform very well or it's a good value. I'm just saying that if you guys do have a warranty issue like I did, I had terrible experience, so maybe it'd be best to avoid that, but definitely that doesn't take away from the quality of the bike, and also depends where you guys are around the world. Just because I had a bad experience with Giant Canada doesn't mean that you would have a bad experience with Giant United States or wherever you guys are in the world. Don't make that deter you from buying a Giant. I'm just giving you guys the transparency that I had a terrible experience, but those are the rims that come stock on them. I've ridden the more expensive SLRs and they perform totally fine, at least when I rode it for the season on my race bike in the past. You have Giant Gavia Corsa. I forgot to mention those are actually tubeless rims as well, and it comes stock with some 25C tires, which is out of the box ready for hard riding. The only thing I really don't like about the TCR that we're taking a look at now for in terms of 2021, I don't like the cable integration going through the down tube. I don't think that looks very nice or clean. Other than that, I don't like the crank. That's an RS510 crank rather than a Shimano Ultegra crank. Now, in terms of the disc rotors, these are cheaper ones. These aren't the stock Ultegra disc rotors, but they would still perform, just maybe not as good as the Shimano Ultegra level rotors. But for 3,400 USD, I find this bike to be kind of like a piece build. They have the 105 rear cassette at the back. They don't have the Ultegra crank on the front. You get some carbon fiber rims. So it's an interesting build for 3,400 USD. I don't think it's terrible. But now we're going to take a look at the Trek Emonda SL6 2021 model, retailing for 3,300 USD. So $100 cheaper than the TCR we just took a look at. And from the looks of it, we'll look at some different angles of the bike. I think it's great when bike companies actually do this because you can actually see before you go in store what you're getting or what you might get. You can see the cable integration at the front is a lot cleaner. It's not super clean. The more expensive EMONDAs are a lot cleaner in terms of the stems. I think they're more integrated. You can see here the stem's pretty basic, but it looks pretty nice out of the box. I think this color is very nice. Now we're just going to look at the specs really quickly. Now the frame is 500 series OCLV carbon, which is Trek's carbon. The fork is carbon as well, and the steer is carbon also. So that's good to see they don't put aluminum. Now in terms of the front and rear wheel, from what I can tell, these are Bontrager Paradigm disc tubeless. So they are tubeless, but these are, from what I can tell in my research, aluminum rims. So you're not getting carbon fiber rims. The tires are tubeless as well, 700 by 28 Cs. Full Shimano Ultegra 11-speed mechanical hydraulic. So you have R8000 series, so I do like how they put that right there. In terms of the crank, it's a 5236, so semi-compact, exactly the same as the TCR Advanced 1. And then this is a threaded bottom bracket. The TCR was a press fit. Now the cassette, they don't cheap out. They actually use an Ultegra cassette R8000, 1130, same gear ratio. So basically the same gear ratio for the crank and also for the rear cassette. The chain is Shimano Ultegra 11-speed. And then in terms of the seat post, that's carbon fiber as well. The handlebars are aluminum, which is given at this price range. Stem is aluminum as well. So they actually didn't cheap out on the disc rotors as well. So these are the Shimano Ultegra disc rotors. So basically for $3,300, you're getting a full complete Ultegra race bike. The only thing that you don't get in this build is the carbon fiber rims that you do get for $100 more on the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact. Now, if we add an Ultegra crank on the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact, retailing for around $300, the price goes up to $3,700 USD, which means there's a price difference of $400 that you'd be saving on the EMONDA SL6, but then you're still not getting carbon fiber rims, which on the EMONDA you're not getting, and on the TCR Advanced 1 disc you are getting. So even for $400 at that point, if you do upgrade, which I suggest anyways if you do get a power meter, so if you do upgrade the crank set on the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact for an additional $300 and the price goes up to $3,700 USD, the fact that you still have a decent pair of carbon rims, I'm not saying they're top tier level, but for a price difference of $400 at that point, if you were to put carbon fiber rims on this bike, you're easily looking at about $800 to $1,000, which increases the price here to at least $4,300 USD, which for $3,700 USD, you can have carbon fiber rims and a dual-sided Ultegra crank that we just saw goes for $300. So if that was confusing to follow, I do apologize, but I'll say it really quickly. For $3,400 USD, it basically has carbon fiber rims. The only thing that's cheap is the rotors, which I don't think are the end of the world, especially when you can replace them and upgrade them later on when they wear out. So if you really wanted to spec it out exactly like the EMONDA SL6, then I suggest just slapping on a crank that retails for $300 give or take, and then your bike would be $3,700 USD with a low level tier of carbon fiber rims, which I still think is great. When the EMONDA, if you were to put carbon fiber rims, the price is $4,300 USD if you have a decent carbon fiber rim set, and then it would be spec'd out a little bit better, but then you're looking at the price difference where the EMONDA, financially doesn't make sense to get when the better value does come on the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact. Now, this is the most interesting part of the video that I was very excited to do. So you'd think at this point, oh, lepedaler is saying go for the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact because it makes sense, it's a better value. However, when I actually looked at Trek Emonda SL6 Pro for $3,800 USD, the next tier up for the TCR is the $4,500 USD bike, which is the TCR Advanced 1 Pro disc. So for the Trek Emonda SL6 Pro for $3,800, what are you getting? So in terms of what you're actually getting, you're getting an upgraded rim set and you're getting carbon fiber Bontrager rims, and it's still 11-speed Ultegra mechanical. Basically exact same bike, comes in two nice colors. I like that dark color and also the racing color that they use for their World Tour team. So as I previously said, with this Giant TCR, you would have to slap on, for $300 an Ultegra crank set, and then you would have some low-level carbon rims, where on the Emonda, for basically around $400 more expensive, you're getting some pretty good carbon fiber rims and the Ultegra group set already on the bike. But now we're going to go quickly through the specs to make sure everything pans out. So you have carbon fiber frame, fork, front and rear wheel are the Bontrager Aeolus Elite 35 OCL V carbon tubeless ready 35 millimeters deep rims, which I think are super nice. Max tire clearance is 28 Cs. Shifter, front derailleur, rear derailleur, crank, all Shimano Ultegra R8000 series. A cassette, rear cassette, Ultegra R8000 1130, 11 speed. Chain is Ultegra as well. And then saddle, seat post is carbon fiber. Handlebar is aluminum, which would be expected. Stem is aluminum as well. And then brake rotors are the upgraded Shimano Ultegra rotors, not the cheap ones. And the bike is 8 kilograms, so pretty heavy, but you would expect that for this price, and it is a disc brake bike. So in conclusion, I would have to go with the EMONDA SL6 Pro. I would upgrade from the EMONDA SL6 and get the Pro. It just makes more sense in terms of value. The thing that always triggers me with these builds is that usually if the rest of the build is Shimano Ultegra, like it is on the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact, I don't like the fact that I would have a crank that just literally says Shimano, and it's not even just the looks of it, guys, because it's not aesthetics, obviously it's performance based. I wouldn't want a heavier and less durable, long-lasting crank set. When you look at the Trek Emonda SL6 Pro, it basically has everything that you want. It has a full group set that's Ultegra, so they don't cheap out on the crank. It has carbon fiber rims, they don't cheap out on the disc rotors. Like, it's just a complete build. And I think for an additional $400, it is totally well worth it. I think it's totally well worth the upgrade, just because, even the rotors are quite expensive. I don't know them off the top of my head. And now I think this build is totally justified, especially when the crank retails for $300. You're telling me for an additional $400, you're getting an upgraded Ultegra crank along with the rotors. And I'm pretty sure these rims are better quality than the SLR2s that Giant provides. I'm pretty sure the Bontrager ones are better value. So with that being said, it's very interesting, because if you're just looking at the TCR Advanced 1 Disc Pro Compact, you're like $3,400, carbon rims. This one, the EMONDA SL6, $3,300, you don't get carbon fiber rims. But you might be thinking, well, if I put the crankset on this, the price goes up to $3,700 USD, and at that point, it's way better value than the EMONDA SL6. But then it's funny when you think about that, because you're like, for an additional $100 at that point, the EMONDA SL6 Pro basically has, an upgraded rotors as well for an additional $100, and you didn't have to piece anything together, and it probably has better carbon fiber rims, and it basically performs very similar to the TCR. I like to say the TCR, the EMONDA, and the Tarmac. Now, they all have their unique nuances, but in the gist of it, it's a very well all-around race bike for the most part. So in terms of that, I would say value, EMONDA SL6 Pro. I really did enjoy making this video, Henry. So if you guys have any other bike comparisons that you want to see, leave in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, winter, right now I'm filming, and it is a blizzard outside in Canada. It is snowing. So other than riding indoors and making these videos, I don't have a lot to do. So the more the merrier. Please send me bike comparisons, and I will get to them as fast as possible. So until then, keep on pedaling.